Said we are not coming to a number we both agree on. They are too low, or I guess they feel I'm too high. I'm playing for strictly my value to the team. That's what I'm asking. I don't think I should settle for anything less than what I am valued at. What do you think, CC? Would franchising Bell be a good move for the Steelers?
I thought all along they were going to franchise him. I didn't think he would get the $14.5 or $15 million, given the dollars they already have allocated to Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown as a wide receiver, the highest paid wide receiver. So I thought that they would franchise him. I didn't think he would compromise, so I thought we would be at this. When you look at the durability or the lack of durability of running backs in the NFL, it would be hard to sign a running back to a long-term contract. If you had the ability to franchise him, like this is the best case scenario for a franchise like Pittsburgh. So you're able to get him on a one-year deal for 2 years. He's one of the best players in the league. They're going to pay him about $27 million over those 2 years. And the risk of signing a running back who, how many more years can he do this? Like, you have to put that in question. Running backs in the National Football League, as far as the players who stay in their prime, running backs stay in their prime longer. They have shorter careers. So signing him to a 5-year deal at $75 million, at $15 million a year, that wouldn't be the best thing for the Steelers franchise. So this is what I've expected all along, because I didn't think that he would compromise. If he wants to take less money, that's what running backs would have to do to get a long-term contract, given the nature of the position and the nature of the finances that are in the National Football League right now.
This is, however, while I agree with a lot of what you're saying, this is not ideal for either party, because for L. Bell, he gets no security beyond this year for a position like you said. It's a fungible position for a lot of teams. It is a position where you see players go from top of the league to, wait, what happened to him, a la what we saw with DeMarco Murray. Now, he did have a bit of a resurgence a couple years later. And it is a position that there is not a lot of guys in the league making huge money at. The biggest contract any running back has is Devontae Freeman, 5 years, $41 million. Yep. With $22 million guaranteed. The second biggest is LaShawn McCoy, 5 years, $40 million, with $18 million guaranteed. So that's why it's not.
So the highest paid guys are making about $8 million right now.
Exactly.
He wants almost double that to play with Pittsburgh.
He wants basically $15 million a year. He's going to get nearly $15 million this year, but it's on a one-year deal. He wants it for a few years guaranteed. So, but the reason it's not ideal for Pittsburgh either is if he does have another great year, if he does stay healthy, what franchising him this year guarantees is they can't franchise him next year. You're allowed to, but they never would. You never franchise a guy 3 years in a row. It gets too expensive. And then all of a sudden, your triple threat of Bell, Brown, Big Ben goes away, because you wouldn't think Le'Veon Bell is going to be in any position where he gives Pittsburgh some type of hometown discount, not after for 2 consecutive years he doesn't get the deal that he wants. I understand both entities' position here. L. Bell wants long-term security paid at the very top of the market, resetting the market, and the Steelers look at the history of the position and look at the fact, man, this guy had 400 carries last year, or 400 touches last year, pardon me. The history of guys that high of a workload, typically their production dips. So I understand why Pittsburgh would do this, and I understand why L. Bell would hold the line, but he's taking a risk, and they're taking a risk as well.
There's also a risk that if you look ahead like you were doing, that both Brown and Roethlisberger stay healthy, and he puts together L. Bell a fantastic season. That's a lot that has to happen for the Steelers to come out sort of in the negative in this. Obviously, it seems like they're making the right choice. You're not a big fan of the franchise tag in general.
I'm not a big fan of the franchise tag in general, just because I think it obviously restricts movement of players. But I just think as a fan, I think free agency's fun. I think when you could say star players in the NFL, star quarterbacks, for example. One of the reasons we all knew Andrew Luck was going to re-sign with Indy before the injuries was because he was never going to actually be a free agent because of the franchise tag. So I'm not a huge fan of it as far as the way it restricts player movement. I understand why the Steelers would use it this way on him, and I understand why L. Bell wouldn't like it.
Yeah, the franchise tag, it's been good for football. For one reason why. People look at the top salaries. If you're getting franchise, you're getting the average of the top 5 salaries at your position. So it still keeps the number high. The problem with L. Bell is the position that he plays. There's no one making $10 million. So unless he rushed for 2,000 yards 3 years in a row, he can't justify the payment of getting $15 million. Oh, I want to be paid outside my position. I want to be paid like a wide receiver. You're not a wide receiver. Jimmy Graham tried to do the same thing a number of years ago in New Orleans. I want to be paid as a wide receiver because they utilize me as a wide receiver. But you're a tight end. You line up at tight end. When they say the starting lineup, you're a running back, L. Bell. Jimmy Graham was a tight end. So they're not going to acquiesce to your demands and pay you like a wide receiver when you are a running back. So I think it's good for football. It's good for fans because it protects a team from losing their 1 or 2 star players. They have the ability, even though we have free agency, to retain them. So from a fandom standpoint, if you're a fan of a football team or a fan of a player, the likelihood of him continuing his career with your favorite team are greater now since they instituted the franchise tag rules.
Right now, the running back position, the only spots that franchise tag numbers significantly lower than the running back spot are tight end and specialist, kicker, punter. Like, that's it. Every single spot on the defense, D-line, linebacker, corner, safety, is paid equal to or greater than the running back position. Every spot on the offense other than the tight end. Now, I don't know where you feel on this. I think that's going to change. I think as we have guys like Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, those players hit their second contracts, the franchise tag number will catch up to running back all of a sudden being back in vogue in the league. Le'Veon Bell, if he gets another deal after this, could help change that
I believe
well.
there will be a couple players that will get that long-term contract, but it will not change running backs as far as, do we expect running backs to get paid $15 million? No. They're still going to be around $13 to $10 million at best. Most of them will be under the $10 million, and I believe that will continue because Ezekiel Elliott, he's 3 years from getting a contract. Todd Gurley, he's another 2 years from getting a contract. So what type of productivity will they have in those years? Based on history, those numbers will come back and they will get injured or hurt.
The other thing that this reminded me of is what a wasted, squandered opportunity this past season was for Pittsburgh.
Oh.
Because because they...
Also, if you win, you can have more demands.
Sure.
Since L. Bell, since Antonio, and Big Ben have been together, what have they won? They have nothing but disappointment in the playoffs, in the regular season. So when you go in there, when you haven't won a championship, you haven't defeated New England, like you aren't the top team in the AFC, it's hard to reach those contract demands.
And so, but because they're now franchising him, it to me feels like the Triple Bs, this is their last run at it, this upcoming year. Like, it's hard to see a scenario where he's back the year after this. And so last year might have been their best opportunity. Last year might have been their best chance with all those guys healthy, nobody suspended, and they end up getting...
Quickly, is this moving towards what we saw last year? We'll most likely hold out, see that no other team is going to offer him a long-term deal and end up signing or accepting the franchise tag?
He'll probably hold out training camp. It's not in his best interest. If me, I sign it, I go to training camp, I don't play in the preseason, though.
Okay.
Get the reps in as far as practice. Less likely to get hurt first month of the season.
All right, we're going to keep talking football on the other side. Coming up, should NFL teams be worried about Josh